Good evening and welcome to today's podcast, Conversations with Classic Cuties, episode 9. Our topic today is HIV, AIDS, and STDs. That will be discussed by Dr. Anika Bell. Anika, welcome to Conversations with Classic Cuties. And we want you to tell us a bit about yourself, all your extras, and what you do as far as HIV, AIDS, and STDs.
Doctor.
Since Tammy started that off,
Right.
I am Dr. Anika Bell. I am not a medical doctor, so let me make that disclaimer. I'm a doctor of pharmacy.
Okay.
I have been working in the field of HIV since 2008, working in the field of research and education. So I work for a pharmaceutical company and also certified by the American Academy of HIV Pharmacists to educate people about HIV and AIDS.
Okay,
girl, that's what's up.
Yeah, this topic is a deep topic,
It's deep.
and we're going to try and get as deep as possible because we want to educate those of you who may have questions or want to know more about HIV, AIDS, and STDs. So, Tammy, you have questions? Jade, you have questions? Because I have some
Mainly
questions.
with the actual part of COVID taking the attention away from HIV, how was the number still rising regardless of people talking about it?
Yeah, so that is a really good question, and actually, something that I have been preaching all throughout COVID, because throughout the COVID pandemic, people forgot about the other pandemic, the first epidemic,
Right.
HIV, and so things that we have seen is throughout COVID, people were staying home. They weren't keeping their appointments. Those that were living with HIV weren't keeping their appointments. People that were contracting HIV were not coming in to get tested until later. And so we saw what we're seeing, and we're waiting on the numbers to come in because, of course, everything is 2 years behind, right?
Okay.
But just looking regionally, just looking at the providers and what's going on, we expect to maybe see a bump in new HIV cases the next time that they do a surveillance.
Okay.
But the way we look at right now in Louisiana, of course, right now in the world, right, it's 38 million people living with HIV. In the United States, it's 1.2 million people living with HIV. In 2019 in Louisiana, there were 21,289. I wrote that down because I want to make sure I got that right.
Number right. Okay.
People living with HIV, and in 2019, and that's as far as our data goes right now, right? 881 new people were diagnosed with HIV. Now, what we're seeing though, and what we had been seeing, was a 30% decrease over the course of 10 years in new people contracting the HIV virus, which is great. But why is that?
Right.
Y'all tell me why.
Right.
Why do you think?
You say since 2019?
Since over the last 10 years,
Oh,
we've seen a
exactly.
30% decrease in new HIV cases. Why do you think?
People being more cautious, more
Cautious,
protection.
more
Yeah,
protection.
just being cautious and thinking before reacting.
Thinking before reacting, and also technology, medications, making it simpler for people who live with HIV to take their medicine the right way every day. We went from people taking, we used to call it cocktails, right? They'd have 30 pills that they'd have to take 8 times a day, down to people who can take 1 pill once a day, or right now, 1 injection every other month.
Wow.
Right? So, that makes it easier for people to get their medication, to get their virus to what we call an undetectable level. And when that virus is at an undetectable level, that means that transmission is decreased to almost 0.
Oh, man,
Wow.
And so that's why it's so important, right? Education is important, but also medication, making sure people are linked to care. They know their status, that they're linked to care and that they're undetectable. And what the government calls that is in the healthcare epidemic 90-90-90. So we want 90% of people in the United States to know their status.
Right.
Okay.
90% of people to be linked to care,
Right.
and 90% of those people undetectable. And if we can get to that point, we can get to a point where we can think about having a functional
Okay.
cure.
Right.
And
Okay.
what type of medications? I heard you say injections, but what type of medications would you say that is being used to prevent this for those that have contracted the virus or to prevent the virus?
So when we talk about medication, so let's put it into two different buckets, right?
Okay.
We've got a prevention bucket and we've got a treatment bucket.
Mhm.
So let's start with treatment because that's where we've been since the 80s, right?
Right.
Starting with AZT.
Right.
I can say AZT because everybody knows AZT. That was the first medication. It was very toxic,
Okay.
but it did save a lot of lives,
Okay.
right? If you watch the movie Philadelphia, you know, you see, you know, those folks, and then you progress to, if you progress with, you can watch Hollywood movies, you progress to other movies like Dallas Buyers Club, and
Right.
you also see there, you know, how
Okay.
medication has helped people along the way. But when we look at the treatment bucket, the first thing is understanding how HIV works.
Right.
And so I call HIV a virus that is not very book smart,
Mhm.
but street smart,
Right.
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 It's
Absolutely.
sneaky,
Right.
right? So what it does is it's what we call a retrovirus, and it comes in as single RNA.
Okay.
Mhm.
Our DNA is double stranded, right?
Mhm.
So it's a single strand RNA that has to sneak itself into our cells in order to live. So it can't live without us, right? So what HIV does is it attaches. So we have medications that stop the attachment onto our immune cells. We have medications that prevent it from entering into our immune cells. That's another type of medication.
Okay.
There's medication that stops it from changing from single strand to double strand, because if you know the immune system and you know our bodies, if our body sees something that doesn't look right, it attacks it. And that's why my voice is like this right now. That's why people sniffling and sneezing, because our voices, because our bodies are saying, wait a minute, attack, attack, attack.
Right.
And mucus is one of the ways it does that, right?
Mhm.
So there are medications that stop it from changing itself to look like our DNA. There are
Okay.
medications that stop it from combining itself into our DNA. There are medications that keep it from forming itself after we call it a assembly line, assembling itself and forming new HIV virus. So it's medications along all of those steps, and that's just been technology since the 80s to where we are now. Some of those medications are pills.
Okay.
Some of those medications are injections. Some of those medications are 3 times a day. Some of them are once every other month. So it all depends on the person, what's right for the person, and what's going to be right for their situation, and what is most important is going to make them comfortable and decrease the stigma that's associated with living with HIV.
Oh, okay.
Then we got the prevention side,
Okay.
which is different, and that's relatively new. And so we found that there are certain medications, if taken every day, or also an injection that can be taken once every other month, that can prevent people transmitting or the contraction
Right.
of HIV as well. So when you put those two things together, imagine how we can try to get to a functional cure
Wow.
of HIV.
And people, I'm not saying it to say it as a crazy question, but some people be like, okay, this person has AIDS or HIV. You can't touch them. Or, you know, I don't want to touch them because I might get AIDS.
Mhm.
Tell people the contracting way that you can catch AIDS or HIV. Not saying that you may not know this, but we're trying to educate those, like, just because you drink something behind somebody, it's not, you know,
Right.
passable that way.
We have younger people coming up that we know about it because of the 80s and
Right.
all that. But our younger generation, they're
They-
not hearing it right now.
Right, they don't
Right,
know.
they don't hear it.
No,
Right.
they don't.
Like,
And
Because
it's
people are doing so well.
right, and
Right.
it's not like you 20 years ago. Oh, you got the cooties. You
Right.
know what
You
I'm
got
saying?
that
You got
gangsta.
the,
You got that
gangsta.
gangsta.
But that too. But I'm saying like kids, they make jokes,
Right.
and it's not funny, but kids do that. And just for instance, if they say if they happen to find out somebody has it, you know, like you said, it's like the cooties. If you touch them, you gonna get
Right.
it, or if you talk to them, you gonna get it, or if you be around them, you gonna get it. And that's not the case.
That's not how it
But
works.
with these kids growing up now, it's time that they're educated
Right.
on the severity of it
And how serious it
and
is.
how
severe.
it's contracted.
Right.
Right. Because they don't see people sick anymore.
No.
Right.
Right? So they don't understand that I could be sitting here living with HIV.
Right.
Right? Because I don't look sick. But I'm not.
Right,
Just
right.
my voice. So the way HIV can be transmitted is through sexual contact, anal, oral, vaginal, sex, heterosexual, homosexual, any type of sex. Okay, sharing needles
Right.
when injecting drugs, and that's something that we tend to forget
Right.
sometimes.
Yeah.
As I said, I work for a company, and a part of my territory just a few years ago was Indiana. And in Indiana, in a real small town, they had an HIV outbreak where they went from 2 people living with HIV to 200 in the span of a year.
Wow.
Injection drug use,
Wow.
sharing needles, right? So, you know, what we say is, you know, if you do drugs, use a new needle. You know, when you do drugs.
Right.
Don't-
Right.
Don't do drugs. Please don't do drugs.
But if you do, use your own needle. Don't share needles. And the third way is during childbirth. Mother-to-child transmission or breastfeeding is the last way that. And really, in the United States, we're at less than 1% of what we call mother-to-child transmission because we become so good when mothers come in pregnant. They are tested, and we're able to start them on a regimen to get their virus undetectable, so that when they have the baby,
Right.
they're not
It's not.
transmitted to the baby.
Oh wow.
That's
Wow.
But there are still babies born in the United States with HIV. Not many.
Okay. Now that's something new I learned.
Yeah,
You know.
it's new to me
Well,
too.
I knew it because of just past, like, years ago, but I forgot about it until you said it.
Yeah, we don't hear
That's
about
true.
it a lot, but it's still happening, but very not a lot.
Okay.
Now,
And the
you
numbers.
cannot, like, kissing, sweat, sharing plates. You
Toilet
cannot.
seats.
Right.
Toilet
right.
seats.
Right.
Mosquitoes.
Yeah, toilet seats nasty anyway.
They
so.
nasty. There are other diseases.
Yeah, toilet seats
another
nasty
topic.
anyway, but yeah.
You cannot contract HIV by any of those. So mosquitoes don't spread HIV.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
Mhm.
But what are the numbers that you have as far as stats regarding Baton Rouge? Like where does Baton Rouge stand?
So where does Baton Rouge stand? So, you know, Baton Rouge right now is number 4 in the nation in new HIV diagnosis.
Wow.
New Orleans is number 2.
Wow.
Now we can look at that 2 ways. We can look at it like, what's a lot?
Right.
Yeah.
Or we can look at it as people in Louisiana know their status.
Right.
They're getting tested.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And we
And
want to
that
continue.
is very
Because at one
important.
point we were number 1.
At one point we were
Yeah.
number 1. We want to continue to encourage people to get tested and to know their status.
And be
You know,
responsible.
and be responsible. There are areas in the United States, like for example, Baltimore, Maryland, Washington, D.C., where at one point the rates of HIV were higher than some areas in sub-Saharan Africa.
Yeah.
Per capita.
Wow.
Yeah, so, you know, we do a lot. There are a lot of organizations that help globally
Right.
to fight HIV. In the United States, we have the resources. We just have to utilize them.
Right.
So, because I used to get tested once a year.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Just for no reason in particular, just to get tested and to know my status. So I would go to like Walgreens or stuff until my doctor's office started doing it.
That's
so
good.
yeah, so now every year for my yearly, they do a panel of blood work, and the panel includes HIV, AIDS, any type of STDs, and by the end of the day, I can pull it up on my chart and know all my results. And I think like just like black people have a thing with therapy, I think they also have a thing about getting tested. Just because you're there to get tested doesn't mean you were irresponsible. It doesn't mean, because I feel like you don't know what your partner is doing. So you need to always be safe. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's not that you're doing anything to get yourself in this situation. You still want to be careful because you're not 100% guaranteed that your partner is being faithful. You know what I'm saying? And you still want to be able to cover yourself. And if you're not doing anything and you contract it, it only came from one place. You know what I'm saying? So just to cover yourself, you know what I'm saying, regardless to what's going on, take time, get tested, and know your status. To me, that's very important. It's very important.
Normalize getting tested.
Normalize it, absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm gonna ask y'all.
But I was about to ask
sorry,
you.
Okay, you
I was about to ask you because Tammy
I'm
touched
not
on.
running this. You running
No,
this.
I want you to ask us, but at the same time, Tammy touched on getting tested because it's not just HIV and AIDS we're talking about. We're also talking about STDs. So, like, what information you have for us regarding certain STDs, chlamydia?
Right.
We have herpes, gonorrhea. You have.
Well, hold on. Before we go there, you were going to ask us what?
I was gonna ask you, who's at risk for HIV? What does that mean?
Who's everybody's at
Everybody,
risk?
huh?
Everybody's at risk.
Everybody's at risk.
Everybody's at risk.
I was looking at you like, what kind of question is that?
No, but people, like Tammy
Right.
said, people really don't realize that even if you're in a married and what you think is a monogamous relationship, what you're doing is, are you having unprotected sex with your husband?
Right.
And guess what?
Right.
You could benefit from PrEP, or you're at risk for HIV.
Absolutely.
What the
Nobody's
guidelines they
exempt.
look at is, when we talk about offering people prevention. So one thing is getting tested, right? And you get tested at your doctor's office, and it's great now that a lot of our OBs and OBGYNs are doing that. But the next step is offering prevention, particularly to cisgender women. By cisgender, I mean women that have sex with men, that identify with as a woman, particularly black women, because we are the most at-risk population right now for contracting HIV. So, the next step is offering prevention to us, because they look at us, and I have myself been told by a healthcare provider, why would you want prevention?
Right.
Why wouldn't I?
Why wouldn't I?
Absolutely.
Right? Why wouldn't I want to be protected? So, the triggers, are, have you had sex in the last 6 months? That's the first trigger.
Right.
Not consistently using a condom. Your partner may or you suspect that your partner may be HIV positive. We're talking about chlamydia, gonorrhea, coming in with a STD.
Right.
Guess
Period.
what? A lot of times they travel together, right?
Yeah. And it's usually found in women because we're known to go get tested, known to go get our mammograms, all the that just you're doing your yearly exam.
Yes.
And that's just when like
And I like like Anika said, they go hand in hand. You know what I'm saying? Although
they don't discriminate, no.
They don't. They ain't gonna say I'm gonna go to her, not her.
No.
You know what I'm saying? It's anybody. And I just feel like with everything that's going on in the world today, I mean, and it's a lot. I just feel like regardless to what you're doing,
Right.
who you doing it with. You know what I'm saying? You should never put yourself in a situation to where you have that much trust in a person
Right.
to where you believe that they would not do that to you.
Always
Trust yourself. Trust yourself. Protect yourself.
Test yourself.
Test yourself. Absolutely. Because again, when I go to the doctor, he run a panel. And you know, that goes hand in hand with getting a mammogram, getting a yearly exam, getting a physical. It's a must for me. It's a must for me because guess what? I want to know my status.
Right.
I want to know my status. I want to know who to point the finger at.
and too, you know, we've come from a place where the only form of protection that we thought we had was a condom, a male condom, right? So the onus was on the male using the condom, and you felt guilty, right? Especially in the black community, asking a man to put on a condom because he'd say, "Why you want me to have put on a condom? What's wrong with you?"
Right.
That's the way it
Yeah.
was, and you know, there's a male condom, but there's a female condom that you can use as well. And now there's PrEP.
Right.
So, you know, I'm never saying, I always say double barrier. Double barrier is a condom plus spermicide. Most condoms have spermicide, so that's already double barrier.
Right.
But now we have PrEP. And your partner don't have to know that you get an injection once every other month or that you take a pill every day. They don't have to know. And so that's just another way to protect yourself.
Absolutely.
No matter what your sexual activity level is, right? Because that's nobody's business.
That is nobody's business.
Right? And you asked about sexual transmitted diseases, and we talk about how, you know, they travel together. When we look at Louisiana across, compared to the U.S., and U.S. rates and even the regional rates, we are higher with gonorrhea, we are higher with syphilis, we are higher with chlamydia. Syphilis is a little lower than the rest of them, but definitely chlamydia, gonorrhea, the rates are higher.
Wow.
The rates are higher, but that goes hand in hand with the HIV rates are higher too.
Right. Absolutely.
Interesting.
That's definitely interesting.
Wow.
So like, anything that you want to like tell them, like as far as where they could go to get tested, if they want to do the PrEP, what would be the things that they need to do to prep themselves? I mean, because knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power.
Right.
Yeah. So I always advocate talking to your healthcare provider. First of all, you should always have a healthcare provider that you can trust.
Absolutely.
If you don't feel like you can talk to them, if you don't feel like you can have a conversation about these things with your healthcare provider, you need a
new one.
healthcare provider.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some people don't have a healthcare provider though, so where do you go get tested? And there are always testing fairs that happen. There are organizations across, I don't know if I can say them, like Planned Parenthood, Heart, any organization, AIDS Healthcare Foundation.
Yeah, they need to
all
know
these
this.
places
let them know.
will
let them
test
know what
you.
to know.
Yeah, all these places will do testing, and you could do I don't even know if they're still here, but I remember once I went with a friend. She wanted to go get tested, and we went to at the time YWCA.
Okay. I didn't know anything about them.
And got tested.
I know Planned Parenthood was definitely one that offered testing. I'm not sure of the other place, but Heart was another one, but it states to just know, Google, check with, she's giving information right now to where you can get this information, pass it on to someone else, or maybe contact numbers. So they have contact numbers that you can give, where people can call and get information.
And you have to have insurance
and
that kind of stuff.
You do not. So you do not have to have insurance to get tested. And testing is confidential as well. So you can get tested and find out your status. And now, Louisiana is a mandatory reporting state, so we have to report numbers,
Okay.
Yeah.
and that's how we get these numbers that I was talking about.
Yeah,
So
as
they
it
have
should
to
be.
collect numbers, but your status is confidential.
Exactly.
As well.
Exactly. So don't be afraid to go get tested. That's something that you need. I say everyone needs to know.
Everybody.
Know your status. It will be information also given. If we can get contact numbers, do you have any contact numbers that you can shout out and give?
I can't right now, but we can put it. I know.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I can
Add it to the
send
podcast
Thank
on
you.
the end. Or if not, we can add it to the comments of the actual podcast
Right.
episode.
Absolutely.
Anyone have any questions? Any other
No,
questions?
I asked my question, and you talked about the new meds because there's so many commercials that show these new meds.
Right.
Y'all, the
Yes.
commercials.
The commercials.
But
It's
what
the
I-
commercials
yeah,
for me.
What
Like,
I
I'd be
do
like,
want to tell
wow.
people is now we're starting to see commercials about prevention, and they do focus a lot on white men or Hispanic men having sex with men,
Okay.
which is important. Hispanic men having sex with men are also at a very high risk right now of contracting HIV, but so are black cisgender women having sex with men.
Right.
And that's not represented in that commercial, and it doesn't mean that that medicine is not for you.
Right. Right.
So ask questions of your healthcare provider if you feel like you could benefit
Right.
from prevention. Ask the questions,
Right.
and just because the commercial doesn't have your face doesn't mean that
It
you're
can't
not
happen.
represented.
Right.
And everybody, keep in mind, I went through a whole period of testing for a long time. My doctor ended up having to tell me to stop and just go when I do my yearly.
Right.
Because things happen in lives, whereas people, like women, don't understand that men are sometimes very careless.
Yeah. They are.
And
Yeah.
that we let our guards down, and some things that happened, I was messed up in the head for a minute because my thoughts was everywhere, and I just, things were changing in my body, and I was worried. I was thinking it was so many different things, and testing gave me peace, but
Right.
it didn't give me peace
Right.
because I still was, okay, now another 3 months, let's go again.
Right.
And
right,
she ended
right.
up telling me, no.
It's okay.
Yeah. Calm down.
We're
Take a
gonna
deep
calm-
breath.
That's what she told me. She said, calm
Yeah.
down, take a deep breath. We're going to do this every year now for yearly. You've been doing this for
Right.
a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But getting tested gave me a peace of mind.
Absolutely. I was just about to say that it gives you a peace of mind, a sense of calm.
Yeah.
Just knowing that you are taking care of yourself and knowing that you are safe
Right.
and knowing that your status
Right.
is what you want it to be.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like that you can
Walk around with your
Yeah.
chest out.
Yeah.
you can breathe. Yes, you can
I
breathe.
mean, I will tell you, men who have sex with men, they wear a stamp on their chest. I know my status,
Mhm.
and
They
I
do.
am on PrEP,
Right, right.
and that's what they walk around saying because they're proud of it.
Mm-hmm.
We, as black cisgender women, need to do the same thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I know
I
my
agree.
status.
I know my status. Yes.
I know my status.
I know
my
mine.
Yes.
So, but that's amazing, and we just want to encourage everybody.
Everybody.
Everybody, it doesn't matter.
Young, old.
Young, old, yes, absolutely.
Everybody.
We want to encourage everybody to know your status. Get tested.
Yeah.
It's very important.
And
Just
the next
like-
step is once you get tested, find a provider, stay in care, take the medicine, and become undetectable because that is how we keep the rest of the world healthy.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And if, this is the if factor, if something comes up within yourself to where this brings about mental issues or something happens, that's when you go back to therapy.
Yes.
You go get your therapy.
That's the
Yes.
fourth 90.
Do not
Remember I said
result
90,
until
90,
like
90?
do not result to
That's the
wanting
fourth.
to harm
Yes.
yourself or
Yes.
do bodily harm to
Therapy.
yourself
Get it.
because you found
Therapy.
out something that you feel so negative. It is people that are walking around with HIV. and look just as healthy as a regular person.
Yes.
But at the same time, you have to know your status. So I say if it results to something that you're shocked about, it's okay to go get therapy or get help in reference to what you're going through, because there's somebody out there that you may meet in that's dealing with the same situation that you're going through.
Right,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And the way, and it's wraparound services. I mean, if you are diagnosed as HIV positive and you're living with HIV, there are wraparound services. It's not first of all, it's not a death sentence, right? There are medications that you can take, and we talked about that already. You know, that takes the stigma away, first of all, and keeps you healthy. You know, and then it's no reason why anybody should go broke trying to treat HIV. There are wraparound services with Ryan White in Louisiana. You know, people are able to not only get services that they need for HIV, but also those wraparound services, the therapy, the counseling, the peer-to-peer type things that they need. So I will say, I can absolutely say with certainty that, you know, people living with HIV are one of the most supported groups of people when they access the care. But you have to access it, and you have to ask for it.
Right.
Makes sense.
Alrighty. Well, Anika, Classic Quties would like to thank you for coming out and joining us today. And you can come back anytime you like. Come back and visit us anytime you like.
I will. And if I could too, I was telling you I wanted to ask too, you know, if anyone is has a youth or a child, that my daughter is doing a science project, and she is going to be looking at the education of youth and HIV. So, you know, what we're going to do is we're going to do surveys and do a little bit of education. And then we're going to break it down by socioeconomic level. We're going to break it down by school, by gender, by age, just to see what young people know right now. And then we'll use that data to make a difference.
Right.
So
like
if you have a youth and you're interested, please let the Classy Quties know. And we will be in touch.
Thank you.
Good deal. Good job. Thank you so much.
So wait, hold on, y'all. Before we sign off a second, let me step over here for a minute. Excuse me, y'all.
Okay, Tammy's always up to something.
Up to
So
something.
you never
We
really
don't
know
know.
with her. So we just go with the flow
Always.
with Tammy. So yeah, this is raw and uncut. as I would say, it's always something.
Let me see if I can throw another statistic at y'all while we're sitting there.
Boggle our mind again. 'Cause you boggled my mind with some stuff.
Yeah, you really
I
do.
mean, you know, transmission categories, that's the other thing. You know, the majority of HIV in Louisiana is still transmitted by male-to-male contact, but you know how females get it, right?
I'm
From
listening.
males.
Okay, I wanted you to say it. From who?
From males.
Interesting.
Right. So, yeah, heterosexual contact is going to be about 20%.
Okay.
Right now, injection drug use is 7.8%.
Okay.
And combination where they can't figure out if it's male to male or injection drug use is about 6%.
Okay. Wow. Okay, you broke it down.
Yeah. And so that kind of breaks it down and kind of lets you know what your risk is.
And that's male to male?
This is male to male sexual contact.
Oh wait.
Whoa.
Let me see this. Hold on. Male to male.
That's the
Male,
red.
male. The red is male to male. The purple
purple
is heterosexual contact. The blue is injection drug use. And the green is male to male sexual contact. See the difference.
And the black is other, and that would be
The black,
something like
yes,
mother
I
to
barely
child
seen
Wow.
it. Yeah,
transmission.
that was.
That's
I
something we
didn't
don't
see the
have
black.
to worry about.
Right.
Yeah, mother to child transmission.
Okay,
something
Sam.
like that.
Okay. Hey y'all, I'm back.
So look, y'all. My friend Anika, I called her one time, and she agreed to do the podcast. So from Classy Cuties.
Oh, my favorite! Thank you.
That's a gift from Classy Cuties. much. I love you forever.
Thank y'all. I
And
love the podcast.
I appreciate you for showing up.
Oh.
And
Watch the hair.
y'all, guess what?
Oh, it's my birthday.
It's Jade and Anika's birthday. Jade and Anika's birthday.
Happy
Happy birthday.
And this is for Jade. And
Thank you.
we love you so
love you,
much.
Jade.
We
Happy
love you
birthday.
so much.
I'm not gonna cry
Happy
today.
birthday, sis. We love you so much, and we appreciate you. And it's just
Y'all
amazing
have candles to
to
blow out.
be a co-host.
I just
Okay.
came back from
With
the
you.
infectious disease conference.
Okay. So
So
we're
we're not
gonna
gonna
fan
blow.
it.
Yeah, we're gonna fan it.
Make
But
fans.
hold on, y'all know I gotta do my traditional happy birthday song.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Take a H, take a A, take a P, P, Y, take a B, take a I, take a R, T, H, take a D, take a A, N, take a Y. Happy birthday. Go, Jane. It's your birthday. Go, Anika. It's your birthday. Go.
You gotta love her, bro.
I just want y'all to know that I love y'all from the bottom of my heart, and I appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
I appreciate you, Anika, for just being there. Like, one call, that's all. I appreciate it.
like that.
I'm just saying, it only took me one time. I called you,
Right.
and you
Showed up.
and you showed up,
Because it's you.
and I appreciate it. So
That's
I love
it.
y'all both, and we appreciate you.
Thank y'all.
Both.
Thank you.
So-
Thank you.
Y'all,
Love y'all,
Okay.
Jade. Blow up.
You made your wish?
That's
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah. So,
Okay.
Thank you.
Classic Cuties is going to be signing off. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Conversations with Classic Cuties. And
Classic
Good-
Cuties signing off.
good night.
Good night.
Good night.